What if I told you there's a secret plan being executed right now? A plan to make $37 trillion in debt disappear without anyone noticing? Would you believe it? The United States national debt surpassed $37 trillion in 2025. 37 trillion. It's a number the human mind cannot process. If you tried to count to 1 trillion, one number per second, it would take 32,000 years. Now multiply that by 37. It's the kind of number that doesn't exist in reality, except it does. And it's growing. Every second that passes, another $6,000 is added to that bill. While you breathe, the debt increases. While you sleep, it multiplies. But here's the question nobody asks. How do you pay a debt that can never be paid? How do you undo a mathematical problem that defies mathematics itself? The official answer is simple. Economic growth, controlled inflation, perpetual refinancing. The same empty words that central bankers have repeated since 1930. The same promises that preceded all the great falls in history. But the real answer, the true answer, is being built in the shadows. And it involves two things that governments have always feared and never fully controlled: cryptocurrencies and gold. Let's go back a bit. August 1971. Richard Nixon closes the gold window. The dollar stops being convertible to gold. It's the end of the gold standard, the end of the last anchor that tied money to physical reality. From that moment on, the dollar becomes what it always wanted to be, an abstraction. A promise without guarantee, pure faith printed on green paper. And it worked. For decades it worked. The world accepted it. The dollar became the global reserve currency. Oil? Only in dollars. International trade? Dollars. Central bank reserves? Dollars. America created the greatest Ponzi scheme in history and called it world order. But every Ponzi has an expiration date, and we're getting close. 2008. The global financial crisis. Banks too big to fail. Billion-dollar bailouts. Money printing on an industrial scale. The Federal Reserve injects $4.5 trillion into the system through something called quantitative easing, a technical name to hide a simple truth. They were creating money out of thin air, and we all pretended it was normal. But something changed that year, something that went unnoticed by most. In October 2008, while Lehman Brothers was collapsing, a document was published online. 9 pages. An anonymous author named Satoshi Nakamoto. The title? Bitcoin, a peer-to-peer electronic cash system. At the time, nobody cared. It was just another obscure cryptography project, another utopian dream of libertarian programmers. But it was there. The seed of something governments wouldn't be able to control, a stateless currency, a centralist network, a parallel financial system that didn't ask for permission. Fast forward to 2024. Bitcoin surpassed $100,000 per unit. Its market value exceeds $2 trillion. Ethereum, the second largest cryptocurrency, is worth $500 billion. The total crypto market? Over $3 trillion. $3 trillion in a system that doesn't physically exist, that has no headquarters, that has no CEO, that no government can shut down. And this is where the story gets interesting. In March 2022, President Joe Biden signs an executive order, number 14,067, ensuring responsible development of digital assets. Sounds bureaucratic, sounds technical. But read between the lines. The United States government is officially recognizing cryptocurrencies as part of the financial system. It's creating regulatory frameworks. It's preparing the ground for something bigger. 3 months later, the U.S. Treasury begins buying gold in record quantities, quietly, without fanfare. The United States official gold reserves are 8,000 tons. But how much really exists? How much is being moved behind the scenes? Nobody knows. The last complete audit of Fort Knox was in 1953. 72 years ago. Are you seeing the pattern? Cryptocurrencies are legalized and integrated. Gold is accumulated in secret. The debt keeps growing, but nobody seems really worried. And then you realize they're not trying to pay the debt. They're preparing the reset. Think about it this way. What happens when a system is so broken it can't be fixed? You create a new system, but you can't just announce it. You can't tell the world the dollar is dying. That would cause panic, bank runs, total collapse. So you do it differently. You build a new system while the old one still works. You migrate slowly. And when the time comes, you just switch like changing clothes. If this is messing with you, imagine what comes next. Subscribe now. Because what I'm about to reveal changes everything. Here's the play. Several countries are already testing central bank digital currencies, CBDCs. China has the digital yuan. Europe is developing the digital euro. And the United States? The Fed has been researching the digital dollar since 2020. In 2023, they launched the FedNow pilot, an instant payment system that is essentially the infrastructure for a future digital dollar. Now connect the dots. A digital dollar would eliminate physical cash, give the government total control over every transaction, every penny you earn, spend, or save. But it would also give them something else, the ability to reset the system, to create a new dollar. A digital dollar backed not just by faith, but by real assets, gold, and maybe cryptocurrencies. Sounds crazy? Let's look at the facts. In 2024, the United States government confiscated over $5 billion in Bitcoin from criminal operations. $5 billion. They didn't sell it. They kept it. The American government is one of the largest holders of Bitcoin in the world, and nobody talks about it. And the gold? In 1933, during the Great Depression, President Franklin Roosevelt signed Executive Order 6102, banned American citizens from owning gold, forced everyone to sell their gold to the government at $20.67 per ounce. A year later, the government revalued gold to $35 per ounce. Instant profit of 69% at the people's expense. Do you think they wouldn't do it again? History teaches that when empires collapse, they always resort to the same tactics. Asset confiscation, currency devaluation, monetary reset. Rome did it. Spain did it. Weimar Germany did it. Why would the United States be different? But this time, they're being smarter. They won't openly confiscate. They'll regulate. They'll tax. They'll make it so difficult to own cryptocurrencies outside the official system that you voluntarily migrate to the digital dollar. And when you do ... they'll have total control. And the reset? It'll happen in phases. First, a crisis. It could be a bank collapse. It could be a cyber attack on the financial system. It could be a war. Doesn't matter. What matters is it'll be used as justification. To save the economy, the government announces a new monetary system. A digital dollar backed by gold and digital assets. The old debt? Simply ... forgiven. Reset. International creditors lose. The American people lose savings and old money, but the system survives. And those who control the new system win everything. Would you trust your future to a system built to keep you blind? Because here's the truth nobody wants to admit. The $37 trillion debt will never be paid. Can't be paid. It's mathematically impossible. Even if the United States taxed 100% of all citizens' income, it wouldn't be enough. The only solution is default. But governments don't admit defaults. They create illusions. They manipulate. They reset the board and call it reform. And cryptocurrencies? They're the perfect tool. Volatile enough to justify regulation. Valuable enough to be used as collateral. And decentralized enough that the government can say it's adopting innovation while actually capturing it. Think about what happened with the internet. It started free, open, decentralized. And today? Controlled by 5 big corporations, surveilled by governments. Every click tracked. Every message monitored. Do you think cryptocurrencies will be different? The plan is already in motion. The Federal Reserve is buying treasury bonds with money created out of thin air. Inflation is called temporary. Interest rates go up and down in a choreographed dance to avoid immediate collapse, but it's just a matter of time. The clock is ticking, and when the moment comes, they'll offer the solution, a new system, safer, more transparent, more controlled. And you'll accept it, because the alternative will be chaos. But what if you could see it coming? What if you could prepare? Is it still possible to escape? The answer is complicated, because the system was designed so there's no easy way out. If you keep cash, inflation erodes it. If you invest in stocks, you're exposed to market collapse. If you buy gold, it can be confiscated. If you buy crypto, it can be regulated into irrelevance. And if you try to leave the system completely, you become a target. But here's what they don't want you to know. Knowledge is the only real weapon. Understanding the game is half the battle. Because while most sleep, while the masses believe the official narrative, those who know move, quietly, strategically. They diversify. Don't put all eggs in one basket. Keep assets in multiple jurisdictions. Buy physical gold and store it outside the banking system. Invest in skills that can't be confiscated. Build trust networks that survive the collapse of institutions. And above all, they study history, because the future isn't new. It's cyclical. Everything happening now has happened before, under different names, in different places, but the pattern is the same. Empires expand, accumulate debts, devalue currencies, confiscate wealth, collapse, and are reborn in new form. We're in the middle of that cycle now. The question isn't if it'll happen, it's when, and who will be prepared. The numbers don't lie. The debt keeps growing. By 2030, projections indicate American debt will surpass $50 trillion. Interest payments alone will consume over $1 trillion per year, more than the defense budget, more than Medicare. It's unsustainable. And meanwhile, cryptocurrencies keep infiltrating. Traditional banks now offer Bitcoin custody. Retirement funds include crypto in their portfolios. Bitcoin ETFs are approved by the SEC. Corporations hold cryptocurrencies on their balance sheets. Tesla, MicroStrategy, Square, do they know something you don't? And gold never left the scene. Central banks worldwide are buying gold in record quantities. China, Russia, India, Turkey, all accumulating. Why? Because they know that when the dollar finally falls, gold will be the only thing left standing. But you won't hear this on television. You won't read this in the newspapers. Because the official narrative needs to maintain calm. Needs to maintain confidence. Because the moment confidence breaks, everything breaks. And maybe that's exactly what some are waiting for. A crisis big enough to justify total transformation. The Great Reset. Not as conspiracy theory, but as public policy. The World Economic Forum already uses that term. World leaders already discuss it openly. The idea of rebuilding the global economic system from scratch, and the tools? Government-controlled cryptocurrencies, traceable digital currencies, digital identity linked to everything you do, social credit determining your access to services. It's not science fiction. It already exists in some places. And it's spreading. So when I say there's a plan to make $37 trillion in debt disappear using crypto and gold, I'm not talking about magic. I'm talking about financial engineering. Global scale manipulation. A game played in the corridors of power while the rest of the world watches Netflix. The truth is, the debt won't disappear. It'll be transferred, diluted, socialized. You'll pay for it. Through inflation. Through taxes. Through the slow erosion of everything you built. And when you complain, they'll tell you it's necessary. For the greater good, to save the economy. To protect the system. But the system doesn't exist to protect you. It never did. The system exists to perpetuate itself. And when it needs to save itself, it sacrifices those who can't defend themselves. History is full of examples. Weimar hyperinflation destroyed the German middle class. Roosevelt's gold confiscation stole wealth from millions. The Argentine corralito froze bank accounts overnight. The Cyprus haircut confiscated deposits above 100,000 euros. It happened before, It'll happen again. And this time, the tools are more sophisticated. Digital money can be frozen with a click. Transactions can be censored instantly. Accounts can be closed without warning. And you'll have no recourse. Because all of this will be in the terms of service you accepted without reading. But here's the tragic beauty of it all. Even knowing this, most won't do anything. Because it's comfortable to believe everything's fine. That someone's in control. That the system will last forever. It's easier to live in illusion than face reality. And maybe that's exactly why it works. Because while some see the abyss approaching, most just look at the ground. Focused on the next paycheck, the next bill, the next entertainment. Meanwhile, the world changes around them, silently, inexorably. The question you need to ask yourself isn't whether all this is true. It's what you'll do with this information. Will you ignore it? Will you research more? Will you prepare? Or will you continue as always, hoping that somehow this time it'll be different? Because in the end, the secret isn't so secret. It's all in plain sight, in Federal Reserve communications, in executive orders, in central bank movements, in World Economic Forum pronouncements. You just need to be willing to see. And when you see, you can't look away. $37 trillion in debt, an impossible number, an equation without solution, and a ruling class that will never admit the emperor has no clothes. So they'll do what they've always done. They'll change the rules. They'll redefine the game. They'll tell you black is white and expect you to believe it. And most will believe, because that's human nature. Prefer the comfortable lie to the painful truth. Prefer the illusion of control to the chaos of reality. But you're here, watching this, questioning, looking for answers. And that puts you in a minority that can make a difference. Not by changing the system, but by navigating through it. With eyes open, with mind sharp. With the courage to see the world as it really is. Because in the end, real power isn't in stopping what's coming. It's in being prepared when it arrives. And in knowing you did everything you could to protect what matters. Your family, your future, your freedom. The storm is coming. You can feel it in the air. In the numbers that don't add up. In the policies that don't make sense. In the movements happening in the shadows. And when it finally arrives, when the reset happens, when the system we know transforms into something new and unknown, the only question that will matter is, were you ready? $37 trillion, crypto, gold, and a plan being executed while you sleep. Now you know. The question is, what will you do with this knowledge? If this opened your eyes, imagine what we'll reveal in the next episode. The truth doesn't stop here. It's only beginning. Subscribe, turn on notifications, and prepare yourself. Because what comes next will change everything you thought you knew about money, power, and control. See you on the other side.